Okay, so today we're going to be looking at my capital budgeting financial scenario for the New Heritage Doll Company. For my APV, I got, as you can see, 779.08, which is decent in terms of returns and everything. You can see everything here. You can see that on my numbers, my revenue was expected to be in 249. It was in 2009 it was 245.75. My operating income was 22.60 and the net income was 13.56. And then the previous numbers are right here, and the current numbers are 399.82, 46.49, and 27.90. And as you can see, the actual numbers that I have are larger than the forecasted numbers, which is good, which means I got better returns and everything. Here are some of the projects that I worked with, and here you can see all of them that I chose to do. I chose to do the new doll film and DVD. It says it was released on schedule. Marketing campaign was very successful. The Match My Doll clothing line, which outperformed expectations through just various things, not necessarily due to the company. The book series, also through an outside source, was more popularized and boosted revenue. The mail order catalog business to Asia. I also invested in the retail store expansion in the Northeast. The acquisition of the children's magazine was the largest project that I undertook, and I think the financial performance was all enough to justify it. The Match My Doll clothing line, the cable TV program, the Toddlers Music CD series, and dollhouses with miniature dolls. So in 2014, you can see that what my numbers were: my net income, earnings before taxes, net current assets, total net assets, and total current liabilities. You can see everything in here. Then it breaks it down between production, retail, and licensing for even more specifics. For the cash flow, the company total is still expected the cash flow is supposed to rise every year based on the projects that I chose and the projections that we have, which is good because if you have the same cash flow every year, it means you're not making money because of inflation and depreciation, things like that. So as long as you have a positive cash flow, you should be alright, and I'd say that going from 42 to 67 in 10 years is a pretty decent jump. And then it breaks it down to cash flow from operations, investments, and financing. And it's most of mine is coming from operations. I was investing a lot in other projects and things, so it's going to be negative. And then the total cash flow, it starts out at 1.23, and then it goes pretty heavily down because I started investing in things, and then I started getting returns on my investments, so I started slowly going back up to the point where it's not quite where it started, but in the future it will continue to raise. As well as the ending cash balance also went up, not by a huge, mind-bending amount, but it did go up. So in the financial analysis, you can still kind of see my numbers. The debt-free cash flow kind of goes up, terminal value. Okay, this is the second part to my video on the capital budgeting. I'm not sure exactly where it cut off, like to the second, but I was about to come to the project details tab, so we're here now. And I was gonna talk about it. This is the project details tab, is where you can go look at all the projects. These are the available projects, are ones that I did not choose to fund, and the previous projects I did. And we can kind of come in and take a look at whichever ones of them we'd like. I played around with the discount rates. I tried to keep them, more realistic with the NPV and the IRR, because if you just keep going lower at a certain point, it goes up, astronomically, and it's just not realistic. It's completely impractical, and there's no way you'd actually, or nearly impossible for you to actually find something like that. So I tried to keep it to where it'd be more realistic numbers, and kind of work with that. But this is for the dull film and DVD that I did choose to fund. Like I said, I altered the discount rate to 5.2, and I think overall, everything taken into consideration, the discount rates, it turned out pretty well for the company. Kind of what we did, even if the risk was high on some projects. I think with the appropriate discount rate, um, that they can be managed. Like on this one, I changed it to 4.90, and the NPV is 36.39. But if, say, it's in licensing, say, just for instance, we left it at, let's say 790, not 790 for a high risk, it would have changed the NPV to 21.51, and that wouldn't have been, these numbers wouldn't have been quite as good a fit, I don't think. And then, so like I said, these are the project updates. And I would say that most of these projects, they might not have been amazing profits or margins, but they were enough that I think they were worth investing in. And where is just in the project details? Maybe so. Well, I was looking for something, but I'm not sure where to find it. I was gonna, in the simulation, you can see the the NPV and the IRR when you're going to select them. And I was just going to say that for the most part, I went with the NPV, because I think the IRR, while it can work to, differentiate and compare projects, the IRR benefits with projects that are more similar, like more similar interest rate, more similar price range, more similar, um, the net return of what you're expected to get from it. And the NPV it works a little bit better standalone, like on these. So what I judged the projects that I funded with was more of, I did take the IRR into consideration, but it was more, I was mainly focusing on the NPV and the payback period, like how long it would take to pay it back. Anything um, with an extraordinarily long payback period I tried to avoid, just because it's not immediate profits, which for like, in real life for a business, that would be totally fine, but for the purposes of this simulation, I needed to get, returns as fast as possible. So that's just why I kind of stuck with those numbers. And that's about it. All right, well, hope you enjoyed.